James Dobney with us on a Sunday morning, our Ask an Expert segment. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning.
Are you ready for Christmas?
Pretty much.
Okay, that's good. Ready for some questions? We have Linda on the phone this morning from Kitimat. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
What is your question for James?
What I wanted to find out is, in our sink, in the bathroom, we have a pedestal sink, and it seems to be leaking and going through to our basement. And we're wondering if there's a way of going through and trying to find that leak without ruining our bathroom and our bedroom, where we would end up having to open up to try and get in and find the leak.
Without ripping everything up.
Correct.
Okay, a couple questions. Does it only leak when water runs into the sink?
Yes.
Okay, so when the water's, so it's probably not a supply leak. It's not the water lines themselves that are leaking.
Okay.
Okay, so it's the drain. And can you see there's something called a P-trap. It's kind of in behind a pedestal sink. It's that curved part that goes around and back up again.
Oh, you know what? We haven't pulled the pedestal out. Maybe that's probably what we'd have to do.
Yeah, so you can't see it if the pedestal's in place.
Okay.
Probably. If you can get in there with a mirror and a flashlight and then watch it when you run water, it's probably leaking from that trap.
Okay.
Either the trap or the drain connection.
Okay.
So if you can, sometimes if it's leaking from the trap, you might be able to tighten it up if you can reach around with a wrench and tighten it up that way. Otherwise, you're probably going to have to pull a pedestal out. But first thing is to figure out exactly where it's coming from. It'll either be where the drain connects to the sink or the trap.
Okay, Linda?
Okay, so try that and hopefully you can solve it.
All right, great. Thanks for calling, Linda. We have Ken on the phone from Richmond. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning.
Hi, Ken.
Hi, James. Got a quick question. I'm having trouble with my double doors to fit properly. The house is about 30 years old. The double doors towards the bottom is a bigger gap than the top. So the top tends to rub, and the bottom lets some cold air in. What can I do about that?
Yeah, that's a tough. So you have French doors.
Yeah.
And they're not. So the doors are. Is it narrower at the top than the bottom?
Narrower at the top.
So it's not as though the door's warped. It's just that it's not. They're not lining up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Best way is probably adjusting it from the hinge side.
Okay.
So you may have to shim one of the hinges out so that you want to have the same space all the way down.
Right.
So it's a little bit tricky to adjust those, or check the hinges and make sure that the screws aren't loose on the hinges too.
Yeah, I have.
Because sometimes they get loose, and the weather stripping, maybe a new weather strip might help a little bit. But if the space is too big, you're going to have to adjust the hinges one way or the other to get that space narrower and the same from top to bottom. The other thing you could do is adjust what's called the astragal, and that's the piece that is actually attached to the door that stays in place. So there might be an adjustment in there as well.
All right, good advice. Okay. Thanks. Darren on the line now from Victoria. Good morning, Darren.
Hi.
Hi, Darren.
Hey, James.
Sorry?
You hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Morning, Lynn.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good, good.
James, I'm having a problem where I've got water coming up through the basement, and I believe it's the water table rising, and it seems to squirt itself through a couple cracks and corners on a low part. There's no surface water coming in. It's all around the house is fairly dry, and I believe it's water table. If I dig down, I hit rock and water. So every time we get these really bad rains, I get about a bucket full of water that squirts up into the basement, and I wonder if there's any way to seal that.
How old is your house?
1930.
Okay, so chances are where the water comes from your gutters, from the downpipes, it goes into the perimeter drains, does it?
Yeah, no perimeter drain because we're on basically rock, so the drains just shoot off to the side.
Right, and the water that comes from the downpipes is going away from the house?
It goes away from the house, and where the leak comes up is ahead of the drain, so I don't think it's any surface, it's not runoff water from the house.
Yeah, I think you've diagnosed it right. It's probably the water table. I mean, there are various compounds you can use to seal the concrete, and that might be effective. They're expanding type compounds, and that might seal the crack. The other option you might think about is actually digging a small hole there and putting in a sump pump. Oh, is he gone?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's another option. Put in a sump pump.
All right, Darren.
When the water table rises, it pumps the water outside.
Go look for a sump pump.
Yep.
We have Ann on the phone, also from Victoria this morning. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning.
Hi, Ann.
Hi. My question is, I've been having problems with my hot water pressure. The cold water is fine. I've talked to many plumbers, and no one seems to know what the issue is. It works fine one day and then just dies out, almost to a trickle, and don't know what to do. Very frustrating.
It's the same at all the faucets, all the hot water faucets?
All the hot water faucets, yeah.
So it's originating at the tank, most likely.
I just replaced the tank like 4 months ago, so it's not the tank.
Ah, well, that's interesting. Have you checked where the water comes into the water heater? There's a shut-off valve.
Right.
Check that valve and make sure that it's open all the way.
Yes. What I did yesterday is I shut the water off, and someone had told me to drain the tank and see if that helps. So I shut the water off, drained the tank, let the water run back through, and then filled the tank again. The problem's still there.
Interesting. At the top of the tank, it's marked hot and cold.
Yes.
Are the bright pipes connected? Is it hot where it's supposed to be and cold? Okay.
Yeah.
Not that. I would say it's got to be related to when your tank was replaced. So if you
it was doing it before it was.
Oh, it was.
replaced.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a tricky one. No one seems to know what the answer is.
Wow, it's a riddle.
Where do you live?
In Victoria.
I can't come over this morning and look at it.
Oh, I wish you could.
There has to be a solution for it, and I would say be looking in the vicinity of the water heater, because if it does it to all the faucets, that's where it's starting. So it's some connection close to the water heater, probably just afterwards.
Okay.
Okay?
Thanks, Ann.
Sorry.
Good luck, Ann. Well, thanks for that, James. That's all the time we have. But if you have any more questions for James, you can reach him by calling 604-942-8272 or through his website, which is jamesdobney.com.
We're on Twitter and Facebook now, too. So.
Wow. Welcome to 2010. So are we. It's taken us all a little while, hasn't it? If you have a question for one of our Ask an Expert guests, you can email it to weekendnews@globaltv.com. Make sure you put the guest name in the subject box. Our next Ask an Expert segment is January 2nd, and that's when medical herbalist Caitlin Yardley will be here taking your questions. Thanks for that, James. I'm going to follow you on Twitter right now.
Oh, boy.
So you better go home and tweet something. Thanks. Have a great Christmas.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks for coming in. Christy?
James, I don't think I've ever seen you stumped before. Ever.
Talk to my wife.